Suits.
Yes, I introduced her to Suits.
He introduced me to Suits.
And since then she's been watching
I know
Suits
I'm
more
an
than me.
addict. And then he showed me something on the TV where you can record it. And I'm just like, Vance, you make sure you record it because I need to see it. And then the season ended and I was upset. I'm like, Vance, why isn't it coming on this week?
So on the first date, you know, I read some books in terms of how you should present yourself. You should present yourself properly. So I've got a long sleeve shirt, a dress pants, some nice shoes, and then at that time the church was fasting. So I couldn't carry Jessica to a fancy restaurant. So I just invited her out simply to lunch at a kind of vegan place, right? So when she came, I met her by the entrance of the place. I had on a long sleeve shirt, I was sweating, and then she came, she was unaware of why I invited her there.
We went to Me Hungry. And Vance came well dressed. I came normally because it was just supposed to be a lunch and I didn't put any significance on it except it was a lunch with Vance. We spoke about theology for 1.5 hours and I thought, okay, interesting, learning a little bit more about Vance, but I really didn't put any significance to it. But after that lunch, he invited me out to another lunch.
So I had spoken to her and I think my exact words were, well, Miss Lawrence, I've invited you out today for lunch because I've developed an attraction for you. And so I would just like to know if you would give me a chance to court you. You don't have to make up your mind, but I don't know, you can take some time to think about it and then you can let me know.
I was stunned because I really didn't expect Vance to share that with me at that point in time. And although he had been engaging me more than usual, I just didn't expect him to say that. And so there was a flood of emotions and thoughts. I heard him say, I've developed an attraction for you, and then I don't remember what he said. I didn't hear anything else. His mouth was moving. I was just like, what's happening? What did Vance just say? That's when we call it our start of our relationship. That date at Scotches, February 24. And it's been 2 years. Crazy, right?
Okay, well, the courting experience was one that we wanted to honor God first and foremost. So from the beginning, we had made certain decisions in terms of our interactions. So we decided to take a kind of a progressive approach. So we started meeting at Devon House and speaking and hanging out where you would have a crowd of people around us. You know, and that was pretty nice. I mean, when we were there, was like no one else was there. We were talking, we talk about stuff.
That's so true. I mean, those were some precious moments because even though we're in crowded places, it was almost like they faded into the background and all we could see were the person we were with.
Okay, the proposal for me needed to have a surprise element because I knew Jessica liked surprises and I knew that she also liked rivers and running water. So, you know, I knew somewhere that was like that just based on conversations with people.
So I'm actually very impressed with Vance's ability to surprise me based on a proposal because I thought there was no way he was going to be able to surprise me. In fact, I thought going up to Strongcastle that day was my idea and that he was going reluctantly. Little did I know that this was all his plan. So props to you for that.
Yeah, but the day was, in my mind, was almost spoiled because I didn't plan for any kind of rainfall or anything like that, and the rain started to fall torrentially. You know, so a good part of the day was spent under the pagoda speaking to the caretaker.
Meanwhile, I am at Strongcastle wondering why it is Vance felt it necessary to go off by himself with a caretaker who had just admitted all of his adventures in prison to both of us. But I, you know, trusted him, went off and took in the view. Quite alarmed when the caretaker returned to me alone to say that I needed to come right now with him to go find Vance down by the river where I left him safely. So I started to get quite nervous. And I was like, what do you mean? I went with the caretaker. And wasn't I surprised to find Vance safe and sound with a rose in the middle of a bridge, just like he said. And Vance met me in the middle of the bridge and got down on one knee. He said a Stevie Wonder quote, "I'll be loving you always. You can rest your mind assured." And then he asked me to marry him. And it was beautiful. And I started to cry and cry and cry and cry. But I was crying for good reasons. So that was a proposal, and it will always be very special to us. May 30 will always be a special date for us.
Well, the wedding for me, I kind of zoned out because of so many things that were happening, and I just felt like I was not necessarily under a lot of pressure, but like so many things to get done, to be married. So I kind of just let go and just sit back and just
enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think in a moment you can let go and enjoy. In hindsight, the wedding was beautiful. And I think a lot of the things I worried about before the wedding and a lot of the expectations I had were immaterial to what occurred on the day when I look back. And when I think of all the beautiful memories and the time we were able to share with friends and family and with each other, expressing our love before God, it was just beautiful. And we have to give God thanks for it. We have to give God thanks for all the many things He worked out.
Generally, I think Jessica has a genuine love for people. So if you ask her a question about someone, or if you look at her interactions with somebody, you know, they're very genuine and sincere, and that's multiplied by 100 times with me. So there is a level of trust in our interactions that I would say that, you know, I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart. And I think as well, just in terms of how much she does love me, you know, I don't think I've grasped it as much as I could have or should have, you know. But, you know, that's a deficiency on my part. But I think she just has a lot to give, and you have to take it in stages.
I really appreciate Vance's desire to learn more about God, know more about God. And I would sum it all up in that because I think it directly impacts how he treats me, how he takes care of me, the decisions he makes in our life, and about the priorities in our life together. And Vance has always placed a premium on how he has treated me as his girlfriend first, and then his fiancée and his wife. And I think that's because of his very fundamental and basic desire to honor God. And because of that, I am affirmed. Because of that, I am encouraged, and I am more loved, and I feel affirmed and treasured because he has placed that as a priority in his life. So that's what I really appreciate about my husband. He's also very patient. Very patient. I couldn't have found someone more patient and willing to just walk this journey through with me in spite of my own quirks. And so I couldn't forget that. He's a blessing.
What do we bond over as a couple?
Pizza on date nights.
That's right. We're supposed to have one date night per week with some variety, but for some reason we keep having pizza
At home.
At home every Friday.
And it's wonderful.